Today is December 26, 2024, and if anybody from Robinhood is actually watching this, it's almost the end of the year, and y'all did say tax lots are coming out. Like, bros, you know I love you guys, but come on. I understand that all of those new features you guys have been releasing, like the gold card, futures trading, index options trading, Forex, and commodities, all that stuff. I understand you can't roll all of that out at once, but like, come on. Tax slots by the end of the year, y'all did say that. So I'm going to keep my eye on the app every single day until the end of this year. Well, I mean, I'm already on the app like every single day. Even yesterday when it was Christmas and the market was closed, I still opened the app just out of habit at this point. I don't know if that's a good thing for me, but it is a good thing for Robinhood. But anyways, today I am up 1%. Earlier this morning at around 4 a.m., I guess I was down. So I thought it was going to be a down day, but I don't know. The market is just crazy, I guess. And this is on a day where the NASDAQ is slightly down, but basically flat. And there were quite a few things that I wanted to touch on today. That doesn't sound right, but I did have a post on X talking about the situation with U.S. steel and a Japanese steel maker, I believe. Now, I'm not going to pretend like I know a lot about the steel industry or any of that, but I do see a very low probability but very funny scenario that could potentially happen, and that is Elon Musk buying X, or US Steel, the ticker X, as both a favor to Trump and as a joke. Now, I know the probability of that actually happening is very low, but you guys have to admit it is kind of funny, and the possibility is there. Now, fundamentally, I think US Steel is trading below book value. Their free cash flow is a bit of a mess right now. I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but just from memory, I do know that their free cash flow was negative, but they're trading well below tangible book value. So that is one positive. But I don't think they can currently support their dividend right now, just based off of the negative free cash flow. But that was just me glancing at their numbers. But it is a possible funny scenario that I could see happening next year. Now, as for myself, I did go ahead and sell an AMD secured put today. Now, I don't know if I'm going to have AMD as a long-term holding. Let me rephrase. I could see myself being a long-term shareholder of AMD, but I wouldn't put it at the same level as Robinhood, where as long as Robinhood continues to execute, I am basically a lifelong user and a lifelong shareholder. Now, with AMD, I do like AMD and NVIDIA and the semiconductors, but it is a pretty complicated industry, and I'm not even going to try to pretend like I understand any of that stuff, and I'm definitely not an insider, and I don't want an Intel-like situation to happen to me, if that makes any sense, right? Because, correct me if I'm wrong, but people that bought Intel during like the tech bubble burst, I want to say, like, it's something crazy like 20 years ago. Anybody that bought Intel is basically flat on their position, right? But not really flat if you take into account inflation, which has been eating away at your wealth. So you're basically down, and you were a long-term shareholder of Intel for multiple decades. So semiconductor industry, it's a tough business, and it's a very fast-moving business. But I think for right now, AMD might potentially be a pretty good stock. Obviously, that's not financial advice, and you guys should not be copying me. That is not a buy and sell recommendation, but I thought it was worth a shot collecting $200 for a cash secured put. And if we take a look at some of the performances in my account today, Robinhood up almost 2%, Nike basically flat, Palantir basically flat, slightly down, Pepsi same, Tesla down 2%, TLT basically flat, slightly down, PayPal as well, but SoFi up 3% and Honest up 2%. So that is kind of interesting. And of course, Robinhood getting back to that 40 support area. And I think right now we're just consolidating before we reach my actual price target, which is 50. So I do see Robinhood getting to 50. And Nike as well. I think Nike has been consolidating for a pretty long time, and I could easily see Nike hitting 90. Another thing that I wanted to briefly mention before I finish the video is I still think that the odds of the market dipping towards either January or February, maybe even March, are pretty high. I think if you take a look at a lot of the higher time frame charts on both the broad market indices and individual stocks, you'll see that it does kind of look like we're gearing for at least a short-term correction. And the only issue that I see right now as far as preventing that correction from happening is a lot of people on X and to some extent on YouTube are already talking about it. So obviously if everyone is expecting something to happen, the chances of that happening are very slim to none. But the scenario that I had in an earlier video where I described the Chinese market potentially turning around and possibly energy stocks going up along with the Chinese market, while our market kind of has a cool down, basically risk on American assets having a cool down, risk off assets, potentially consumer staples, Pepsi, those types of stocks might go up slightly. Maybe even TLT will catch a bid, who knows. But I do see somewhat of that type of scenario playing out next year, but we'll see.